In the serene community of Karu, Nasarawa State, Nigeria, a child was born on January 28, 1958, who would rise to become a beacon of leadership and service. This is the story of His Royal Highness, pharmacist Dr. Luka Panya Baba, a man whose life epitomizes dedication, excellence, courage, and divine purpose. Born into the Baba ruling house of Karu, Luka Panya Baba is the son of Reverend Dr. and Mrs. Panya Baba. His early years were shaped by strong family values of hard work, industry, and a commitment to education.
Right from the home, my grandfather was one who encouraged people to take education seriously. And that is why in the house, apart from his children and grandchildren, we had so many other persons living with us whom we grew up with together. And all these children came from different backgrounds, some of them from Durku, some of them from Kujipi, Ado, everywhere. If he went somewhere and he found young men who were not attending school, he would request them to be brought to him. So he would take them in and then put them in school. So at the point in our house, we were over 30 young boys in the house. Most of us were engaged in farming activities immediately after school because there were no vocations for us to do at that time. And predominantly, most parents were, farming was the in thing. So after school, we would go to the farm and then come back and do some house chores. Most of it had to do with fetching water for our mothers into the kitchens and then taking care of cleaning the environment. My grandfather encouraged us a lot in this regard because there were some kind of salient rewards that you get if you observed that you were hardworking. And some of it was by way of giving us some small change on the market day. At least it gives you the opportunity to go into the market and buy some of those small snacks that children like so much.
Luka began his educational journey at Ekwa Primary School, Karu, from January 1964 to December 1970. His academic brilliance shone early, paving the way for his admission to Government Secondary School, now Science School, Lafia, in January 1971.
Rayuwarsa komi da zai yi yana so ya gan yayi gaba. To yana karami. Har Ubangiji ya sa shi ya shiga makaranta. Da ya shiga makaranta komi da yana so ya zama number 1. Baya wasa da karatunsa ba. Ko za yi abu yana so shi ma ya yi kwaikwayo abin da ana yi domin shi ma wata rana zai yi.
I remember at one time I went to help my father feed some of the pigs that he was rearing. And because I was not used to doing that, I became scared and fell off the fence, then broke my left hand.
Luka graduated with flying colors in June 1975, earning a West African School Certificate in Division 1. This achievement led him to the School of Basic Studies at ABU Zaria, where he enrolled in the Interim Joint Matriculation Board IJMB program. His successful completion of the IJMB program secured his admission into the Faculty of Pharmacy at ABU Zaria. In July 1979, Luka graduated with a BSc in Pharmacy, achieving a second-class upper division and clinching the Glaxo Pharmaceutical Company Prize for the best graduating student in pharmaceutical practice. Luka's journey continued with a mandatory internship at Murtala Mohammed Hospital in Jos, followed by his National Youth Service at the School of Health Technology, OFA, Kwara State. It was there that Luka's future responsibility as Esukaru began to take shape, even though it would only become clear based on hindsight.
By divine providence, I was one of the prefects of the school, and I was handling one of the most important aspects of leadership there. I became the food prefect. I know the food prefect is a critical position. It had to do with the feeding of the students.
I saw him while he was growing up. He was quite a very, very, very smart child, very active and very wise. And I want to thank God for that. We could see traits of leadership in him when he was small.
Lokacin da yana karami, in ya yi wani abu, ko ya bata wani abu, in an tambaye shi a ce shi ne, baya musu ba. Ko an yi duka, ba zai yi musu ba, ya ce shi ne ya yi. Haka rayuwarsa yake tun yana karami.
Somehow, during my National Service service year, I became very close to the Olofa of Ofa at that time. And several times I would be in the palace, and interacting with him. I don't know what attracted me to the palace at that time, but I found him to be very, very, very receptive. And once in a while, I'll go to the palace, interact with him, greet him, and then go back to my residence. And while I was teaching in the School of Health Technology again, I met one of the lecturers there, one Mr. Benjamin Olorusaye. Benjamin is from Kaba. And because I interacted a lot with staff and pupils within the community, one of the days he was going for weekend in Kaba. I followed him, and only to discover that he was also from the royal home, from the Obaro of Kaba's house. And that day I followed him. We ended up in the Obaro's palace in Kaba. And I remember when it was time for food, the Obaro asked me to wash my hands and join him. And I ate with him from the same pot. So looking back, I believe that God was preparing me for the stool. He led me to two traditional leaders whom I interacted with quite closely, even though it never crossed my mind that I would be on this stool. But looking back, it begins to seem to me that God was preparing me for this to live in at that time.
On May 26, 2004, Luka answered the call of his people, ascending to the first-class traditional stool as the Esu Karu.
There was some excitement, but I also felt heavily burdened. Heavily burdened because I knew it was a call to service. It was a responsibility, a very heavy responsibility that I was going into. Something happened before I was even selected. In Ikaru, there are two ruling houses, the Baba Jabi ruling house and the Nara ruling house. And when the opportunity came for Baba Jabi to select the person that would take over from my predecessor, we held a meeting as a family. And we thought of one elder amongst us, the eldest amongst us was thought to take that mantle. All of us were unanimous in that decision. However, he declined, citing reasons of age and the need for anybody who will be filling that vacancy to be energetic, vibrant, young, so that he can properly shoulder the responsibilities. He felt that he was a bit aged and the rigors of running the stool in the office may be a bit too much for him at that age. But that person is no other than my father. So he declined. But he left the entire family to now decide. He never recommended me. I say, but the entire house thereafter felt that I should take the stool and be the leader in that family.
Soon as he ascended the stool as a man of taste and excellence, the first thing His Royal Highness, pharmacist Dr. Luka Panya Baba did was to build a more befitting palace for Karu chiefdom, which he did single-handedly.
See the palace itself. Renovated the palace. I think in the whole of Nasarawa State, Karu, the Esu Karu Palace, is one of the palaces that should be reckoned with. All through his own efforts. And he is doing more.
In spite of his education and extensive experiences in public service and administration, His Royal Highness, full of wisdom and humility, understood that leading his people was a different ballgame altogether.
The truth is that for one to go into what he has not had any previous experience on before is quite difficult. At a point, I would wonder what the expectations of the people were, and I sometimes found it difficult to know whether I was living up to the expectation of the kind of leadership they expect from me. But I thank God that I quickly developed a relationship with my contemporaries, my colleagues, other traditional leaders. Because as soon as I ascended the throne, I took time to visit most of the traditional leaders in the state and requested them to see how they can assist me and guide me in some of the areas that I may find difficult. You know, traditional leadership is not something you can say you have enough experience, and so you must borrow from the experiences of others.
No wonder the king grew in stature, strength and wisdom, enabling him to manage his chiefdom, New Karu, even as it was once described as one of the fastest growing cities in the world with an annual growth rate of 40%.
By the time he was selected and thrown from Ethiopia, Karu was not a big city that it is now. But over these years, Karu has grown in leaps and bounds in terms of population, not just population, but the diversity of population because of all kinds of people from all parts of the country that have been to Karu. And it has grown physically in terms of buildings. As it were, it has become more complex with several challenges. I remember when we were growing up in Karu, for instance, at that time, even goats and sheep and chicken, the elders knew their houses. If they saw one chicken pass, perhaps with a strip of cloth on the wings, you hear them say, this chicken is from so person's house, this duck is from so person's house. And that's because it was a very small community. A lot have changed about Karu today.
Karu, as it is a competent local government. So if you had expected any unrest in the whole state, you could have expected it to start from Karu. But because of his leadership, because he knows how to work with each and every person, just as I told you, it's a competent local government and the children. And you find out that since all these problems and other things, none have been witnessed in this children.
One of the things that come with population growth and development is increase in crime and social conflicts. But leaning on his faith in God and being guided by divine wisdom, the Esukaru took some strategic decisions that led to the peace and progress enjoyed by all today.
Now, what I have decided to do, first of all, is to see how I can unite all the tribes and the peoples that are living within this domain. And to achieve that, my principle is to do all the things about our growth and development on the basis of a family. I believe that all those whom God has destined to be settled in God are stakeholders in whatever we do for our growth and development. Because anything that will consume us, we consume them. And anything that will prosper us, we also prosper them. And so what I do is that in all activities that we do for the development and growth of our community, we involve them, we engage the various tribes. Right now, we have appointed leaders of most of the tribes that are resident here, who will be the liaison between us, the traditional institution, and all the tribes that are resident here. For instance, we have what we call the Wakili Yoruba, we have the Wakili Hausawa, we have the Wakili TV, we have Wakili Igala, we have for Igboya, we have for Birom. Almost all the tribes, we have appointed a leader each for all these tribal groups. And whatever thing we're doing for the advancement of our community, we bring them along, they join our meetings, and then we discuss our progress together.
Because he realizes that Karu, local government, upon which he presides as the president of the traditional council, is a cosmopolitan local government, highly cosmopolitan. It's a mini Nigeria in action here. And he realizes that for him to be able to have eventful, peaceful reign, he must interface with so many variables, so many tribes, so many interests, so many perceptions that come across him as a traditional ruler.
Furthermore, he has been able to do a lot of social engineering, getting the diverse people with diverse cultures together to do peace. He has come up with policies that is inclusive of all the people that live in his kingdom, men and women and children, men from different tribes, cultures.
There are very few places in Nigeria today where strangers or settlers can describe as being better than their own places of origin. But New Karu.
I have been in New Karu chiefdom for the past 13 years. I am a barber. I have shop in Karikari Junction. I love everything about Gwagi tradition. It's a better place to be. There is security and they have peace and harmony. They are united together.
Well, I've been in Karo for more than 25 years. Since that man is in control, we don't have problem with anybody in Karo. Especially in Nukar, everything is peaceful. No complaint. I even built my house in Nukar. Right now I'm staying in Nukar. I'm just like an indigene of Nukar. So the man is a very good man. He's a nice man. We all of us are cooperating very well. We are just like if you're assuming that I'm in my village. I love this place more than even my village. So this village is a very nice village.
Well, I've been in Karo for 12 years. The king doesn't show differences. He don't even know whether you are in this language or this language. He carry everybody along. He's a good man. If he's eating, he will not eat alone. He will share for the strangers and other things. Because I know many a times when they will say, go to the king palace and collect this and collect that.
Humility is one of the hallmarks of wisdom. Anyone who comes across His Royal Highness, pharmacist Dr. Luka Panya Baba, will testify that he is a man of disarming humility.
Indeed, our Osu has been in our side in anything we have been doing. And he is a great man and wonderful man. He has been doing well with the youth. We feel as he is a youth, in anything we are doing, he supported us. I also want to appreciate him for open doors to the masses, even the poor ones, to his own palace. Anytime you come, he listens to you, he advises, and then he encourages you.
Our relationship has been very cordial. He's open and he's very courageous.
Esukaru is also a royal father who is deeply loyal, kind, and generous.
In spite of the fact that he is a first-class chief, in Nasarawa State, he has not allowed the status and profile of the class of his chieftaincy authority to get into his head. He has all that the tradition endow on him as is traditional, first-class chief to be imperial and to be inaccessible and to claim the absolute knowledge that some other persons will want to claim. But he does not allow that to pollute his clarity of vision.
I am a top-class chief as of the time I met Esukaru. Already as a first-class chief in Nasarawa State. But despite the gap, one gap between first class and top class, Esu received me as equal. He took me as his brother. There's nowhere in Esu's house that I do not touch. He taught me a lot of things in various aspects of life. Traditional rulership, social aspect of it, economic, name it. This one is an embodiment of anything you can think of. I lack words to describe Esu. In fact, Esu is a perfect gentleman. He is one person that when he speaks the fact. When he advises you, you advise you from the bottom of his heart. And he is one person that will always want everybody to be happy. I've never per second had Esu say bad of anybody. No, he always corrects. He always corrects. He's one person that I will always want to be with for the rest of my life.
I knew him from the program the federal government is carrying out to eradicate polio. That is why we met. He is a member representing Nasarawa State. I am a member representing Benue State. And when I met him, it's like I met a brother. Esu is quite a nice person. Esu is a person who is God-fearing. Of course, he comes from a religious background. The father was a pastor. He passed on not long ago. And when I met Esu, I knew that I met somebody. And in our meeting, he is a serious speaker. He speaks out. He speaks out truth. And his contribution is greatly helping the meeting. Somebody who is God-fearing, who is caring, In fact, at times when I'm with Jesus, I feel like I'm with a very good brother, not just a brother. But then when we go to meeting, he likes good accommodation. We go into a hotel, we say, take we come. When we come, there was a time he surprised me. After we look all the hotel rooms, he just came out with some money and paid even for me and himself. And this was a very big money. So he is somebody who is really caring. Doesn't care whether you are related to him or not. He takes everybody the same.
A very good friend. Esukaru is one person that anytime I'm with him, we don't lack issues to discuss. We share so many ideas with him. He's the kind of person that is not interested in discussing personalities, but he focuses on issues. And that makes me and him stick together very well. He feels so much for the Baki people. He feels so much for local government. He feels so much for Nasarawa State. To the extent that if anything is happening at any part of Nasarawa State, any part of Karu, any part of Nigeria, Esu will always share his views with someone that he knows will listen to him, and will try to see if we can advise the area that is being affected on what to do.
I find him very easy to approach and to even associate myself with him. He doesn't discriminate. In fact, he has been a very nice colleague all these years. Though I have been on the throne before him, but he respects me very much, and I've been together with him. He is very, very accommodating.
Beyond his royal duties, His Royal Highness, Pharmacist Dr. Luka Panya, serves as Chancellor of Bingham University, Chairman of the Governing Board of Innovative College of Education, and Chairman of Crest Pharm Investments Limited. His contributions to education and industry have been widely recognized.
He has influences outside the shores of his chiefdom and the state. He represents Nasarawa State in national committees that have to do with polio management in the nation. And he works very closely with highly placed traditional rulers in the presence of the Sultan, who is the chairman. He sees him as a resource and a dependable ally that he can work with. So he's somebody that has brought a lot to bear in Karu. Highly, highly devoted and committed to government of the day. He is committed to the government of the day because there's no gainsaying that beside God, government is the next. And if the government has endowed you with a responsibility that he has, he must, he believes, commit himself to the government programs and policies and be supportive in all ways.
His Royal Highness, Dr. Panya's commitment to service and education has earned him honorary doctorates from Ekwa Theological Seminary, Igbaja, and Bingham University. His leadership is anchored in divine guidance, driving his vision for good governance and community development. His Royal Highness, Pharmacist Dr. Luka Panya Baba, is a man whose rule in these past 20 years has proven his virtues of excellence, faith, and visionary leadership, and he is just getting started.
I'm somebody who believes that education is the best asset that you can bequeath any person. One of the things I'm craving for is to see how we can provide a very solid educational base for our children. I believe that an educated community is more likely going to be a successful community, because with education, you can achieve any dream ahead of you. And so I've been emphasizing so much on ensuring that our children get quality education. And that is why I've always pushed government. I've always pushed various governments to see how they can improve on the standards, quality of teaching, provision of materials for educational institutions within the domain here. There's a school here they call Government Science School. We've made presentations to His Excellency the Governor and even some governors in the past to see how they can truly make it a science school with enough laboratory equipment and chemicals so that it gives our children the opportunity to develop their capacities educationally. Today's world is technology driven, and science, basic science, is a very good foundation. In fact, it's a prerequisite going forward in any aspects of development. So that is one area we are focusing in to ensure that our children get quality education, are well-grounded, so that they can develop themselves in the going forward. Secondly, we have been looking at a situation where we want our population to be healthy. And in that regard, in the past, I also pushed very hard for government to also establish a general hospital in Kano. The medical center, Maraba, is overwhelmed because people, even not within this domain, come to visit the hospital. So accessibility to our people was limited. But we thank God very recently, sometime last year, His Excellency the Governor, Engineer Abdullah Sule, agreed and established the general hospital for us in Kano. So that will ensure that we have a healthier community, our people are healthier, so their productivity is better. Very recently too, because of my participation in the Northern Traditional Leaders Committee on Primary Healthcare, we were also able to get approval for the upgrade of 2 basic health care centers within our domain here, which is going to be handled by the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency. So all this upgrading of these 2 facilities will further improve accessibility to quality healthcare services for our people. Healthcare, education are key. And of course, the last is what we're trying to do, what we have been doing rather, with our government to ensure that those people that are still engaged in farming get adequate farm inputs. These days, you talk about food security. It's very, very critical. Any country that is hungry is already a defeated country. So we're trying to see how we can improve on the supply of farm inputs, agricultural chemicals for our farming population, so that with these 3, I think we'll be ready to face whatever other challenge is there for us.
It has been 20 years of diligence and commitment to the wise leadership of his people. It has been 20 years of total reliance on God to help him lead not only his people, but many others who have found a home in his chiefdom. Who would not celebrate a man like this?
To remain faithful to his calling as the paramount ruler of this children, and remain faithful to his God, who has given him rest.
My grand word for him is the name is open door policy.
A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches. I'd like to encourage my brother to continue in the way of the Lord by being good, being compassionate, and by bringing all Karo people together to live in peace and unity. And I believe God will help him.
My prayer is that God will give him more long life.
My prayer to Esukara is that God will continue to protect him and give him long life. and give him more wisdom to rule as he has been ruling.
Not only mean that we want him to stay longer. After all, he's doing a good job for the camp people. But I think God is got to expect him to do more for us.
I join him in thanking the Almighty God for having clocked 20 years on the throne of his ancestors. I wish him many years.
My prayer for him is that God will continue to fill him with wisdom and give him good health and the strength that he will do much more than what he has already done.
His leadership is anchored in the divine guidance of God, calling him to service, purposeful leadership, good governance, and the fear of and reliance on God alone. Back in the days when most people in Africa practiced traditional religion, a man had risked losing his royal inheritance by accepting Christianity. That man is Baba Jebmi, the grandfather of the current Esukaru, the man we are celebrating today. Baba Jebmi had laid the foundation of total reliance on God even as a traditional leader.
Let me take you a little back to history, especially starting from my grandfather. It is on record, and I have some of the publications which I got from the National Archives, certified true copies from the National Archives. When the stool of the Sakari or Esukari became vacant prior to the ascension of my grandfather, our family was next on the line. One of his brothers was tipped to take up the responsibility of leadership. And he says since he does not have a male child, he declined because he thought there would be no follow-up, after him. But then he did not also want his brother, my grandfather, to take the stool. So he preferred to return that stool to the royal home, who had just lost a chief at that time. And that was contradictory to the arrangement that was there. So for about 4 to 5 years, my grandfather, Baba Jebmi, had to struggle so that he gets that stool back to its rightful place. So since he had become a Christian, it means there were certain traditional rites that he could not perform or he would not be willing to perform. And so they did not want to select him onto that stool. So the issue dragged, as I said, for about 5 years, almost 6. They invited my grandfather to Kefi. At that time, the colonial, masters were there. So the colonial administrators asked him why he would not carry out the traditional rites. He said since he had become a Christian, he feels that it will conflict with his faith and belief in God. Then they asked him, well, if you will not do it, can't you just get money and give people to do it on your behalf? And he said if he does that, it is as good as he has carried it out. So he stood his grounds, but eventually the insignia of leadership was given to him, and he eventually was enthroned on the stool of the leadership of Karo. And that is why this song that is popular, Baba Lao Bogo, that is how the thing came. The stool had been handed over to somebody who was not the rightful person. And through his struggles for 5 to 6 years, he was able to get it back into the right place, thus ensuring that this principle of rotation is maintained, which we still do up to today. So since then, I have also taught the same path like my grandfather. There are certain traditional rites that we don't do these days because it is it counters my belief and my faith in God. So that is the way it is. Since then, I think we have not gone into all the fetish things that used to be done in the past. These days, our belief in just in God, and He has been leading us through successfully. For the past 20 years, it is this God that has been keeping me here.
Luka Panya Baba.
This has been the life and legacy of His Royal Highness, Pharmacist Dr. Luka Panya Baba, a true leader of his people.
Yeah.